Another incredible day of Quake action here at the Quake World Championships. This is our 12th matchup here on the main stage. And now it is time to go up. We have got ZenAku versus Rapha. One of these players will advance on to be one of the 6 players representing the final players left in the tournament. One of them, unfortunately, will be going home. Joining me again, Flea and Ketchup. Gentlemen, this final game, 2 players, certainly with some history. Both have put up great results this tournament as well, and this should be an interesting matchup.
Rapha, if anyone was watching Rapha play on the B stream, there's motivation here. Like an intent. Like, this is a man on a mission where clearly not able to get through in the upper bracket is something that is not common for Rapha, but from what we've seen in these gameplay, it's no, I'm making it. I'm making it, and no one's going to stop me. That's what I'm getting from those matches that we've seen so far.
I mean, the way he played against Nasva, you've been talking about it in the green room, that man has focus, motivation, sheer will going into this. ZenAku, he's in for a very tough battle.
Yeah, and I mean, like ZenAku has put up some awesome results, and it doesn't matter whatever perspective ZenAku looks at it. He's still got to remember that despite any performance that Rapha's had this particular tournament, he is still a triple champion. He is a champion in Quake Live. He has so many titles under his belt. You can't necessarily brush that to the side. There's some intimidation, but at the same time, you've got to believe that you are capable of doing that, and I do think that ZenAku comes as a refreshed, renewed player. He talked about the Maestro support, how much that has been helping him, so certainly he has got some motivation here, so I can't say necessarily like the hungriest will win, because there's a lot of dynamics that go into this matchup, the picks and bans, the fact that they've been playing all day as well, but this is an incredibly important matchup for both of them.
Now, you know what I want to see? Picks and bans. That's the #1 thing I'm keeping a keen eye on, because I'm already looking at the screen. We can see that we have the Insomnia with the Athena versus the Anarchy. But what comes next? The Death Knight being picked early here by Rapha, and in response, the BJ from ZenAku. That's just going to be a heavy-hitting matchup on its own. And then should it come to it, Blood Covenant between Nyx and Visor. Nyx and Visor going against each other. That has felt to me like the most common matchup that we've seen all day. Yeah. It's been so regular.
And it has really gone both ways, right? We've seen ZenAku have extreme success, I think against Chain it was, playing as Visor, but then he went up against his teammate Wenger and went completely opposite direction. He got outplayed by that Nyx, so it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
I mean, as far as like we talk about the consistencies of players, there's also some consistency in map picks as well. Like ZenAku has almost always said, bring Insomnia on, let's go. Corrupted Keep, we know that that is a map that Rapha likes. One thing that's interesting too, as we do look at the champions, is, you know, Rapha was the one who kind of started to introduce play a little bit more with BJ on Corrupted Keep at this time with the Death Knight. What else do you see there?
I mean, overall, just starting it off, 2 very fast and light champions on Insomnia, which has really become more and more of a meta, right? To the point that we, behind the scenes, were talking about when a Galena was picked, we were like, whoa, Galena on Insomnia? Hold the floor for a moment right there. That was an interesting pick. So really, those fast, light champions have been dominating this map.
Ketchup, any thoughts?
I'm just curious over the Corrupted Keep, because Rapha has always looked really strong when the Death Knight is available. I think there's a recent kind of push to add this champion to your roster of characters, if you were, and on some of these smaller maps where fighting is rather prominent, being able to use this champion at the highest level is something that's just becoming really scary, because that is a absurd amount of damage. And if you're able to manage hourglasses and all that stuff, you know, you're going to have a lot more regular than you normally would. And if you get against a BJ, then matching damage for damage regardless of weapon is always going to be important. They're 2 champions that can kill you off spawn if they just catch you. Because BJ can dual wield a starter weapon. Death Knight's able to flame strike with pretty much anything in the game and still do damage. So that's going to be a rather explosive second map, I think. But you're right, the Insomnia is where we're going to be first. And this is the extreme dynamics of mobility, because Athena is possibly one of the strongest champions that we can see on Insomnia. There was a reason she was banned so often, maybe earlier on, because as we've even seen today, it's not just the grappling hook that makes her so dangerous on that map, it's the ledge jump, something where she can get complete elevation that is above anything any of the other champions can do, and it doesn't even cost her any resources. Like, this champion has it all on Insomnia.
Yeah, I have to say that just looking at these picks and bans, I'm a little worried for ZenAku. Map 1 and 2, I feel favor Rapha in terms of just the maps that they're playing on and the champions that they're approaching this scenario with. And also, if we look a little bit at statistics, at the history between these two, they've played around 7 times in the history of the Quake Pro League. Rapha has won every single last one of them. ZenAku came close once, taking away 1 map, nearly winning a second, but overall, that 1 map victory is all he's been able to secure against Rapha.
It's a mountain indeed. And then the other piece that comes in it is, we've talked about it, every player that's come up here has also mentioned it too, like, we're in the stamina game now, right? Where it's like many of these players have been playing match. Rapha, who is, you know, an extensive LAN history, that's kind of something that he's pretty used to. You know, ZenAku didn't necessarily reveal that, like, oh, that's something I struggle with. He seems to be doing just fine as things progress, but you still have to consider it's a little bit later. It's the final match of the day. People have been playing all day. How might that factor into it? But the good news is that we are launching into our first game. Ladies and gentlemen, our last series of the day. Tomorrow is the championship Saturday, where we will crown a Season 3 winner. We're jumping into Insomnia. I'm going to cast this one with Ketchup. So, Flea, we'll see you back here in a few.
Sit on the sofa, Flea. Rest your legs, mate, because we're almost done.
I know stamina, Flea, you got, but you stick with us. Okay.
But this is such a wonderful match to end the night on, because as Chain said, it's sad to see one of them have to go, because, you know, they both want it so bad, and really the storylines are plentiful this late on into the bracket. But
yes, they are.
There's going to be motivation like no other. If ZenAku can make it into finals day, it's going to be a complete full circle demonstration of how far he has come in the couple of years, from being a challenger to struggling in a season and then kind of slowly but surely finding his feet, to now Rapha is on the other side, where not making finals day for Rapha would be straight up unforgivable for him, I'm sure.
It would be, you know, something that we haven't seen in quite some time. Now, let's go into the game. In that first opening moment, both players going for that rail. Rapha actually backing off as he got there just about a split second too late. It's not really going to matter now that we're about 40 seconds in, but both players, at least with some idea on what they want to do with their game plan. Of course, we're looking through the eyes of ZenAku, still 0-0, and I would expect the momentum to seriously shift Ketchup once that first frag comes to fruition.
That opening rail is going to mean so much all 10 minutes long. With these two champions and the fact that there's not the largest amount of stuff to collect as you're cycling and escaping, that one rail that you don't return. I mean, look at the stack difference now. If Rapha hits a rail and ZenAku doesn't return it, he's going in. And even then, who needs a rail if the aggressive push is clearly part of the plan here for Rapha? Rapha trying to preemptively set up for that rail off the teleporter, because, I mean, ZenAku had no choice but to go through it, but not quite able to land that shot. Forces ZenAku away all the same. The inject forced for another time. The fight towards heavy begins, but it kind of looks like ZenAku doesn't want to challenge it.
You know, it's really interesting. Something you notice almost right away is that, yes, you've got 2 movement-based champions, but Athena does offer this sort of unique spin on it, because she's got that verticality to her, where suddenly, you know, you've got to guess in a 4D dimension instead of just like on a 2D plane. And, you know, ZenAku might have to, you know, constantly like keeping on top of his audio cues, thinking about where Rapha might actually grapple to. Like, it's a really interesting spin on 2 mobility champions against one another.
And what really helps Athena on this kind of map in particular is that, similar to a Doomslayer, quite a lot of those ledge jumps, they're not particularly hard to do. They just require knowledge of just knowing where the opportunities are. So similar to a Doomslayer, this extra mobility isn't something you have to think about. So every ounce of your thought can go into every other part of the gameplay. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful match made in heaven. Rapha controlling most of the map in the armor department, as you will always see in a Battle of the Lights. If someone has lights and someone doesn't, then the one that doesn't is in big trouble when it comes to the old armor here. Speaking of which, Heavy picked up by Rapha, and ZenAku, I mean, we can see it, right? He's having to hide and just listen out and look for that opportunity.
Oh, yeah, this is two players playing footsies right now. Catch up for sure. You know, back and forth. That's going to be a big opening there as ZenAku does get tagged with the rail. We're going to have the inject almost immediately, but also getting hit again. And now he's got to play safely. Rapha, though, smells blood, does pick up that first frag, knowing he can clean it up pretty easily. Machine gun blast, and now he's on the board. ZenAku off the spawn does manage to pick up that heavy, but still has to be careful. Rapha's stack has generally been a little bit better throughout the game.
Really good that ZenAku was able to survive that. Actually forces a trade situation. So the question is, who's going to spawn where? Looks like Rapha spawns closer to the Mega and soaks that one up. So one would definitely say that Rapha had the favorable spawn there. 10 seconds until Heavy's about to appear. ZenAku kind of back to where he started before. No armor and really only a rocket to his name currently, but there's Heavy. Who's going to get it? Looking like it should be ZenAku, but there's going to be a fight first. A fight that Rapha is going to dedicate to Wheat.
Oh, so much damage unanswered with that LG as Rapha was able to catch him from up above. ZenAku still got away, but we did see Inject come out in order to escape with his life. That's good enough, right? As long as you're not giving up the frag, but without any sort of an armor stack at all, needs to be incredibly careful. And this is where suddenly knowing that Athena can grapple and could be coming from areas that you might not expect. There's a rail from behind. ZenAku now on the move yet again, picking up those health bubbles, trying to get back into this game.
Far from the first time ZenAku's been taken by surprise by those surprise rails. And something that just really is a testament to Rapha's current positioning. Athena being able to zip around the way that she can means that she can be in all kinds of locations and then catch you when you least expect it. The important thing for ZenAku, though, is off the back of these near-death situations, kind of like this one, is that he has been able to survive and withstand and has allowed him to stay alive. And because of that, it's still only 0-1 in favor of Rapha. There's plenty of time to make something happen here. But unfortunately, caught. That was the one thing you didn't want to happen.
I mean, and that is what 2 rails in a row can do and how quickly it can change. Suddenly, Rapha now with a stack and with generally control, looking really good. Both the Mega and all the armor he can get, using that grapple to get some momentum. Now suddenly has the opportunity to really set the tempo here in this matchup. Great rocket coming out from ZenAku. Good anticipation and read. Just going to try to answer back, but these drive-by rails catch up. They seem to be the thing that could make a huge difference here in this matchup.
And they're just connecting at the perfect points of the map too. They connect right before an important item's about to spawn, so you force the opponent away. You've done damage and you've been able to pick something up completely uncontested. Then you can put yourself in position, because when they've gone away, they might not know where you've retreated to afterwards. So far, Rapha has just completely shut down every inch of this map, and if ZenAku goes to collect something, it's either because Rapha would want it to happen, or in a lot of cases because Rapha's happy to take the fight anyway. You know, we have seen that before, the LG being able to pepper it through, the quick swap to the rail as ZenAku tries to escape. Speaking of fights though, this is the first fight all map long that has favored ZenAku statistically. The question is, can he win it regardless? Looks more like he's trying to disengage and set up for Heavy. Getting that item control will help a comeback, Wheat.
Yeah, this is really going to be decided a lot by those rails and the LG. There's a big defensive rocket coming out. Rapha will also fire a volley of Tri-Bolt just to make sure his opponent's not going to chase him. But you look at the clock catch-up, 6 minutes, 30 seconds. Big rail coming out on Rapha. He's now in the danger zone, picks up that light, but needs to still be careful. There's going to pick up more health, and suddenly ZenAku finds himself for the first time with a better stack than his opponent. The time is ticking away, but 2 frags is not much given the map we're on.
And with how easy it is for Rapha to disengage, if that's what he wants to do.
True.
Acknowledging here that ZenAku is able to pick up the Heavy, and already Liquid Rapha is out of there. Where do we go now? Setting up near teleporter. So much damage, but the grappling hook's going to keep Rapha alive just a little bit longer, but that's not enough to survive. ZenAku takes a frag, but where does he pile on the pressure, I wonder? I think he's going to try and at least get Heavy from this.
That was a great weapon selection there by ZenAku, switching to that shotgun, given the position he's in, and he's going to use it again. A nice cleanup weapon. That suddenly ties things back up. Now, Rapha grabbing a light, and ZenAku trying to keep this pressure on. He needs to. He's opened up an opportunity. Now needs to try to capitalize on it. Oh, and Rapha with the suicide. I'm not even sure. Is looking through ZenAku's point of view.
I think it was a rocket.
It wasn't?
Yeah,
Okay.
judging from the spawn, it was probably a rocket, and that was one of those, it's either going to be a +1 or -1 situations, you know, so close. There was going to be an exchange of damage, especially off that point-blank super shotgun, but what it has done now is given ZenAku a 1-frag lead. Rapha getting caught in a really bad spot here. There's the inject. No armor on the side of ZenAku, so this is still possible for Rapha to win, but now all the armor's gone. ZenAku is going to take that risk, can afford to tank a rail, but cannot afford to tank that defensive rocket that came flying through teleport exit.
I feel like there's a great rail. Almost a follow-up here. A rail returned by Rapha. Both players super low, and as he drops for that health bubble, it's again the shotgun. Rapha, though, coming right back, answering still a 1-frag game as these two are just a flurry of blows back and forth. I have to say, though, I like what we're seeing out of the shotgun blast. Rapha now has an opportunity. ZenAku incredibly low, down to 67 points of health. He picks up some health as well, and we enter into the final minute. Rapha has to grab a flat frag to tie this back up.
But this is a situation that Rapha has been in before, right? It's time to knuckle down and pull off the clutch that must be done. He's done it plenty of times, and already actually with so much LG here. ZenAku, weak as anything, has to run for his life or maybe try and build a stack back up. But this is really Rapha on the hunt.
Yeah, 20 seconds until that next inject, so there will be one left here. And ZenAku doesn't quite have it up, but he'll have it for those last moments if needed. Right now, Rapha has gotten both of the major items, which means his stack's much better. He's just trying to find his opponent. One shotgun blast, finds a second one, but can he follow up? He's trying to get his own shotgun damage done, but look at the speed there of that Anarchy. Can't quite match it. 15 seconds left to go. He knows he's so close to his opponent, just hits the top of the wall.
Inject
There's
is ready.
a rail.
Inject, but he's still railable, and he is clipped from behind. Rapha finds the rail that he needed.
5 seconds left. There's an opportunity to win it right here, and he does with 2 seconds left to go. Rapha pulls it out with a single frag. The back and forth. What an intense game number one. Just, you know, observations that we saw there. ZenAku with those 3 frags, I believe they were all from the shotgun, using it in great positions. There was a couple of times where Rapha had a little bit of a vertical advantage. ZenAku was able to kind of find a spot that he could get in position, use that shotgun, clean things up, but the chase at the end, like that's really where you saw the skills coming out by both players, not only from ZenAku on the run, but then Rapha to have the ability to use the grapples, keep that momentum going, and land both of those rails.
Look, that final moment there is the purest example of why Rapha can be so fun to watch. It's this degree of like never give up, right? There's enough time to make it happen, then by God, we'll make it happen. And then the champion element comes into play. One of the main reasons Athena is so dangerous is because of unpredictable mobility. On that flip side, on a map like this, she can go where she wants, when she wants. If you're the one trying to run away and you have a more linear escape path, she doesn't really have to make as much hard reads because she can go wherever she wants, right? Cutting you off, and ZenAku, to give him his credit, 10 seconds away from being able to do it, but Rapha just made the perfect call out. And then the chase.
You know, that last frag, it's like you see a fresh, heavy armor just sitting there. You're thinking to yourself, that might be really good for me if we go into a sudden death overtime. But then, you know, I don't know if the hoverboard got caught on the lip there or whatever, but the ollie didn't quite make it up, and Rapha was able to capitalize on that. That was just also a decision of like, I'm going to go left. I think I know where the spawn happened. And of course, ZenAku coming down on that one. Close game. Rapha came up early with the lead, but then of course, ZenAku bringing it back. I was actually expecting, I thought we were going to go to a sudden death and it would be determined there at the end. Didn't think that we'd see that last frag in the final 2 seconds.
Keeps the intensity.
It does.
You know, we're able to get that frag to equalize, and then right before the end of things, just makes the call out on the spawn, punishes it accordingly, some beautiful LG, and really nothing that can be returned, because, I mean, unfortunately, ZenAku didn't have the weapons for it, so a bit of a bait, perhaps, you know, the forbidden fruit. You just want to take the armor, and it's right in front of you, but what it says is,
yeah. I mean, the fall down there, and I'm sure that there was probably the moment where Rapha's heart rate just increased a little bit, seeing that, like, oh, this is my opportunity. Like, we don't have to go to sudden death on this one, and was able to pick it up. Now, that was ZenAku's map pick. I'm not 100% sure how comfortable Rapha is on, you know, Insomnia. It's not like we've seen him focus and prioritize that pick. Rapha's typically a player who's like, well, hey, if there's a map in the pool, right, it's kind of my duty as a player to practice it, get better, be seasoned at it. So there was probably, in fact, I think we heard it, but like a victorious sigh of relief, of course, taking that one, because we will be moving on to Corrupted Keep, a map that Rapha has traditionally felt super comfortable on.
and that's one of the reasons I'm now concerned for ZenAku, because ZenAku's good on this map. I mean, everyone at this level of play is pretty much good on every single map. It's just that Rapha has such a hold on it that whether it comes down to his utilization of the champion he's picking or just the map in general, that this is often one that you would predict him to win. And now this is the second map, of which he's already taken the first one. This is a pretty sweet deal if you're in Rapha's position.
Yeah, we Corrupted Keep, of course, we take the railgun out of the equation. That makes the BJ, you know, really interesting too. We've seen players prioritize that dual LG when the opportunity presents itself. But DK has shown us throughout this particular tournament that it's not just about that burst damage that you can achieve with your ability, but also the ability to zone. Now, how might that be used? Well, putting it on top of the Mega, putting it on top of the Heavy, having the aerial advantage in those situations. We'll have to see exactly how that is going to play out, but I'm sure that Rapha feels a little bit better, as you can see him with the deep breaths going into a game. I mean, you said it, like it would be sort of unprecedented if Rapha didn't make it to that final day, and of course it'd be incredibly victorious for ZenAku to join his Maestro teammates there in the top 6 as well. So a lot on the line for both players.
It's the final stretch to get into the final day. There's a reason these two players are the only two left to make it through. That's because they've been good enough to get this far, tearing through competition beforehand. ZenAku, the absolute definition of why the grind can pay off. ZenAku was a player that you kind of thought of and would go, and not, I don't want to sound disrespectful here, right? But there's very clearly a set of players that were kind of on the cusp of being too good for challenges, but not quite ready for Pro League. And ZenAku in the very, very, very first stage, shame to admit, I kind of felt that way. I felt like ZenAku was really struggling against everyone, and then in the relegation match, that was the match to really focus on. And then almost immediately, over the course of an entire stage, the practice started to amplify.
Yeah.
And he started to get better and better and better. And now, like, you know, 2 years later, the ZenAku we have isn't even remotely similar to the player that we began with.
And that is exactly right. It is amazing as first frag does come out for Rapha. He did hit an early burst of damage, but was able to clean up with that rocket, putting his first frag on the board. And I think you can clearly say, and I think others would agree, ZenAku definitely represents one of the most improved talents in the QPL over the course of the past season. So he's showing it here as he still remains top 8 player now, trying to fight his way into position for one of those top 6 spots.
Tell you what, I'm proud of this community because we have so many examples of that kind of player.
Yeah.
Someone where Quake Champions has become their breakout performance, their breakout game, an important chapter in the history book that is competitive Quake. And now, over the course of these years, especially with QPL as well, so many new players that are starting to put their own little chapters in that book. But now 1 minute down already, Rapha started things off with an almost immediate direct that kind of made me feel a bit sick. And now pushing forward and shutting down denial towards Mega Location. Rapha has the option to do tons of damage, but why rush? We already have a bit of a lead here. Why push out further if we don't need to?
I mean, that's true, but it does seem like Rapha wants to keep that pressure on, and I think that does make a lot of sense. We saw that barrel from the heavy over to the mega. He knew he wasn't going to get it, but knowing that ZenAku was going to go for it, it gave him the chance to potentially negate that. Now he's got to still be careful. He's going to rotate back over and grab that heavy again. Look at that plasma. We talked about the spam and how important that was, especially here on land, and there is a great example of how it can be super effective.
ZenAku has to be nervous about the lack of armor. We can't see it because we're checking things out from Rapha's point of view, but yeah, ZenAku has been spending a lot of time near Rocket just to get that little light piece of armor back. If there is going to be a fight breaking out, even if the dual wield were to get popped... Oh, shut down by a good Rocket, never mind. That talking point is outdated already.
Yeah, I mean, not enough to be able to just barrel in and try to finish off the damage, but we see the Flame Strike come out, and that means that ZenAku a bit trapped, and then the LG off the top of the statue. That second frag there for Rapha, anticipating his opponent coming out of that doorway. Does manage to land a rocket, but needs to be careful. That's where that dual wield can really be effective, even if it's a couple of machine guns.
Yeah, now I couldn't tell if ZenAku would have a spawn near the heavy machine gun, so it might have been one of those, but that's kind of what I mean about why this matchup can be a little bit volatile. Both of these champions, fresh off the spawn, have the means to do damage that you have to respect. So it does make pressuring the opponent a little bit scarier than most, because you rush into a Death Knight who's just got SSG spawn, oh, he can definitely kill you.
Here we have Rapha now going to play a little bit more of a positional game, getting ready. Ooh, tagged by a nice defensive rocket coming out by ZenAku, and that's going to force Liquid Rapha to just back off a little bit. Now another nice strike with that LG. He's got his opponent trapped yet again. He's got a lot of options here on how he could potentially finish this off. Still needs to be careful, but there it is. He just continues to chip away. Ketchup finally got the frag.
The second ZenAku caught fire, he was pretty much a done deal. Rapha had gone back through the room, and then you start to see those damage numbers. You've already got that crosshair lined up for when you come around the corner. And then you add the fact that that crosshair is being lined up because damage is being done. Don't really think he was going to survive that one. But either way, Rapha continuing the cycle of this map. There's enough of a gap between on this map that I think that Rapha can kind of take both of them when it comes to the items, should he wish to. And with a stack like this, it's going to be hard for ZenAku to cement himself. That Tri-Bolt certainly doesn't help matters, and neither is that Flame Strike. Yo, did that Flame Strike wrap round?
It did the wrap, yeah, which doesn't make it any easier. Another frag. This is the second time we've seen ZenAku kind of trapped up at the top, and you really have to be asking yourself, you know, where does ZenAku find his opening, right? If he could get at least one item, find an opportunity to get a nice dual wield pop off against Rapha, try to bring this back, and then convert off of that. We're going to have now Rapha putting his LG up against the dual wield of ZenAku, but it is not going to be enough. And even the fact that the stack of Rapha hasn't necessarily been overpowering or overbearing at all, he's still managed to be getting that damage done against ZenAku.
That LG is so good, and so is the Flame Strike. ZenAku puts himself out just in the perfect moment. But with that range damage, it's still going to hurt. The armor's going to help him out a great deal, though. This could be...
Oh, wow.
Almost wasn't.
I thought for certain that LG was going to clean it up, but this is the window of opportunity that ZenAku needed. Now his dual wields back up. He got the damage and the frag with that, and so he's got the ability. He's not going to be converting fresh off of that one, but is poised to potentially grab another frag here. Down by 4. There, the dual wield comes out as he tries to regain that mega. It allows him to do just that. And Rapha, for the first time, finds himself with a stack disadvantage.
But I'm looking at that Flame Strike. Maybe not necessarily now, because, I mean, being caught in that position, it would have been a total waste to use it. But now with a fresh stack, super shotgun spawn, Flame Strike. You know what I mentioned like 2 minutes ago? This is still going to be a fight that ZenAku has to be kind of careful with.
Oh,
he's on fire.
Gosh.
Can he reach the health in time? Looks like he can. Thank goodness.
He does. And, you know, this is one of those moments where it seems like the best strategy is like, let's be aggressive here. He is so close getting ZenAku down there, but now you don't want to give up a 2 frag lead. Already kind of gave up 2 on his own. ZenAku definitely deserved that one, but don't give your opponent any unforced errors.
Even more of that denial from the Flame Strike, and in this case, I mean, how do you take it? You're on basic, you're on like 1 HP, and there's 3 separate lines of flame on that heavy. That is like the most unobtainable of items in this game.
And now ZenAku kind of increasing the pressure of his own, and it works out for him that time, getting a little bit of damage, and then finishing it off with a direct rocket, 4-7. We're about to hit the 3-minute mark, and this game's still pretty close considering the snowball effect that could happen for either of these players.
ZenAku's confidence is keeping him in this map. We've seen time and time again when Rapha locks in that map control, so often can people fail completely to break that control. ZenAku's refrag potential and pushing in the moment he spawned because he knows he's done enough damage beforehand, he has made it so impossible for Rapha to just start the cycle. We haven't seen it in 7 minutes.
We have not. There was another great rocket from ZenAku. Now a 2-frag lead. It's not really a position where Rapha can start to turtle. In fact, I don't even think that's really impossible here on this map. He's got to be aware and careful of that LG. Flame Strike does come out. It's very, very low. As both players know that there is a lot of damage potential to be dished out, but no armor for Rapha right now. That means he's got to be careful. Gonna grab that light. LG versus LG. ZenAku takes that one. It's a 1-point game.
Armor was shredded in the meantime, but it doesn't seem like Rapha's going to be able to push forward to that heavy in time, which means that ZenAku's going to pick that one up and put himself in a wonderful position. Rapha taking so much damage from that machine gun. 2 minutes on the clock. I mean, if ZenAku was this close, equalizing what? The flyby. Super Shotgun has other plans, and now we are even.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal read by ZenAku right there. Now less than 2 minutes left to go. 7-7. This time Rapha's stuck at the top of the statue. He's going to go for it, but the dual weave does come out. He tries to go for it, and ZenAku almost gets the frag, but is taken out. We've got about 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining. Heavy's going to go to Rapha, but very, very low on health, and this is a dangerous situation to be in. You've got to make the right decision here. Apprehensive to potentially go through that teleporter. Doesn't really know exactly where ZenAku might be. There's a health bubble. That's going to put him in a nice spot. And this might be the opportunity where he turtles a little bit. Knows where his opponent's at. Tri-Bolt comes out a little bit. He's hurting, though. He's going to decide to go through Rocket Room, pick up some more health. He does have one more Flame Blast he could drop out there. And let's see what happens as we hit the final minute.
That was a scary position for Rapha. Didn't have a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
His only ranged sort of, well, splash potential belonged to the Tri-Bolt, and because of that, had to really dedicate to heals and rocket at the same time, of which now an aggressive push here from ZenAku. However, shut down a bit by that Flame Strike, which makes the defense a little bit easier for Rapha to pinpoint that hallway, but now with the Flame Strike gone, and 35 seconds on the clock, ZenAku's got to make something happen. This next fight is guaranteed, but how's it going to go? The rockets are just not hitting their mark, Wheat.
They aren't, but coming out of that teleporter was a dangerous move. Shotgun blast, the second one. Both players incredibly low. Rapha is going to rearm with some health. And now it comes down to this final 20 seconds. ZenAku needs a frag in order to tie it back up. Coming through that ledge, and ZenAku does get it with the LG kill. 9 minutes, 47 seconds. Still 10 seconds for ZenAku to possibly try to find a frag. Or will we go to sudden death overtime? It looks like overtime it is.
ZenAku cannot get ahead of himself. Yeah, I feel like there was a part of ZenAku that was just so tempted to push in there, but a Flame Strike and an SSG at close range can be a horrible, horrible position. The rockets are good, but he needs a little bit more than that. Rapha has to be so careful now. Keep the damage high, keep it strong, but at the same time, you've got to be so delicate with how you approach this.
So it's some very nice rockets. 20 seconds into sudden death. Both players very, very close on stack. Rapha seems like he's keeping that flame ready to use through the teleporter. Rocket barely misses, but that heavy's going to be huge. And from the back, mid-air rocket, a second one as he lands. ZenAku suddenly with a little bit of armor, but not a whole lot of health. Not really an opportunity where Rapha can just go in and go for the kill. We're tied 8-8, sudden death, 1 minute in.
Rapha's done a great job of surviving so far and has been so specific on when he's going to use that Flame Strike, and now there's no choice to be made. Just like that, here comes ZenAku flying around the corner, and that is going to now lead us into another close game here, Wheat.
A very, very close game. You know, it was... there were so many situations, right? Like the flame, we saw ZenAku getting stuck at the top of the statue a couple times. Rapha was definitely able to capitalize on that. You know, there's also a couple moments where Flames almost got the frag for Rapha against ZenAku, but ZenAku was able to pick up that health pack, stop that, and then get himself back into position. We're now in a situation where Rapha's won his opponent's map pick, and now ZenAku's won Rapha's map pick, and we are going on to Blood Covenant. It's going to be that Visor versus that Nyx. And we take a look at some of the action here, and you know, 9-8. This was a brawl catch-up, back and forth. I'm not sure if there's any one particular case. You know, the one frag that actually stood out to me was when Rapha was standing just above to the left of the Mega, threw down the flames, and ZenAku just had that snap shotgun like he was skeet shooting out there. And that, I think, came as a pretty wild surprise to Rapha. But that frag right there, too, that rocket could have hit a little bit different and changed everything. But ZenAku staying calm, collected, pulls out the win, and now it'll be one game, one single map to determine who moves forward and whose tournament life ends here.
There's always an excitement at this point. When it's the final series of the day, two players of which both would be more than deserving to be into tomorrow's finals. Only one map left, because they've both won one. I mean, this is kind of like the perfect way for me to wrap up an evening, because we know the next 10 minutes are going to be brutal.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you say brutal, but when I think about both of these players and I think about this game, you know, I have to imagine that Blood Covenant, maybe we're going to see things slow down, right? It's going to turn maybe into a longer range game, and perhaps not. You know, Rapha has a fairly speedy character who can do some shenanigans. Of course, ZenAku with the ability to maybe see through some of that as well, but movement certainly kind of favoring Rapha here. I think that a slower game might be the right path forward. But I'm not in control of the mouse and keyboard, and neither are you, so we'll have to see what the players are
Hey,
gonna do.
when it comes to composure, these two are able to display that they've got it in droves. That's what I'm finding so impressive here. And if this is going to be a slower map, then so be it. But with these two champions, who knows what we're going to get? The second you've got a Nyx versus a Visor, there are so many ways the map can be played. And I guess as now this warm-up is coming to a close, folks, our final map of the night, and only one of these two will make it to tomorrow's championship finals.
And we're looking through the eyes of ZenAku off of the bat. Has not popped that piercing sight right away, but will get himself a railgun. Let me just swap over really quick, as I think both players with rail. ZenAku with a rocket launcher. His opponent not. Rail's coming out. First rail does go to ZenAku.
Such an emphasis with the stack difference to hit those rails as often as you can. I know it can sound so simple, but when someone's got more stack than you, by design, you've got to hit those shots, because if you both hit each other and they're hitting more than you, you are going to be the one in much more of a world of hurt, because you just haven't got the means to recover. Whereas someone a bit more like Visor, you know, you can back up, get that basic stack ready to go. Wow, nice rail.
Nice rail from Rapha. I mean, the big thing so far is that ZenAku has pretty good control. There we see the piercing sight come out, knows exactly where Rapha is, right above him. That's going to allow him to not make the mistake of potentially walking towards that light, picking it up and getting tagged from above. We're 1 minute in, and I think based off of what I've already seen, this is going to be a rail game to determine the winner here.
The aggressive Ghost Walk has already been used, but actually looked like ZenAku was prepared. He must have just seen it appear.
Oh, that was a bit risky. The rocket jump into the teleporter, just kind of a little bit, and there's another rail. 10 points of health remaining, and the LG for frag number 1. So Rapha smelled blood, and he went for it.
ZenAku's not going to have much to start with at the moment. That rocket jump towards rail, I think we're getting a rather distinct first objective. I need a railgun. Wow.
Flipping back over to Rapha now. He's got his Ghost Walk up. Piercing sights over and done with for 36 seconds. And now Rapha looking to try to possibly squeeze away some control here. He's going to nail jump up to the top, possibly throw ZenAku off just a little bit. Nice job with that tri-bolt. And he has got some good map awareness, just has a great idea. Oh my gosh, sneaking around the side, almost had a lined up shot right there. He does manage to still land it. That rail grabs the Mega, and now is on the run.
That was so smart from Rapha, and it demonstrated such patience too. I think a lot of players in that position
Would have just fired?
they would have just fired,
Yeah.
because they would have seen their opponents not looking in that direction, and they would have gone, right, free damage. In Rapha's case, the damage wasn't the important thing. The item was. You can get the damage after you've picked the item up.
Oh, nice rocket from up above. Oh, answered back by ZenAku. Great shot from down below. Definitely, you know, mentioned that we thought this game would slow down. That seemed to be the right thing, given the map, given the character champion selection that we've got. And it is. Rapha's got the clear advantage with one frag on the board, but we know how quickly that can change, especially after map 2.
You can say that again. And ZenAku realizes there's no rush yet. Still got about 7 minutes of this map, so with it being one frag down, I mean, I've got a piercing sight, I've got a bit more stack. I'm playing Visor, right? Visor's often historically quite good in the Nyx matchup.
Yeah, you know, I just got to say, like, definitely a lot of discipline here by ZenAku. Making some great decisions, dealing with Rapha's aggression. Huge rail from the bridge. Wow.
And the extra prize looks to be heavy at the same time, so ZenAku's done a great job of stabilizing. Hang on a minute. With this Mega about to spawn, Rapha not quite able to get much out of that. Oh no! Looks for a rail. No one home. Good read on the retreat on the light armor though. Rapha just felt it that was where he was going to go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Sometimes you just know, don't you? You just feel it in your bones.
You do. And those rockets too were a nice setup for that. Just unfortunately missed that rail. 4 minutes, 20 seconds on the clock. 1-1 tied up. An intense game. Rail from ZenAku. He's looking good with a great stack. Rapha trying to do damage as he holds out for that Mega and does manage to get it at the cost of a little bit of stack. Lands a great rail. That puts him in a nice position. But ZenAku staying still on the aggressive.
Oh, the last minute it gets popped and he finds him!
Oh my gosh, nicely done. ZenAku up now 2-1, one frag lead, 4 minutes, 50 seconds on the clock, halfway through.
Being able to, literally right as he's about to appear there, the piercing sight. And actually ZenAku in this position. This is a clutch rail moment. Rapha can't quite hit it. That would have been quite a nice 2-2 to be in. But the armor, that's an opening here, an opportunity. Rapha, you know, we've seen him rise to the occasion years and years and years, one frag down. But here's the thing. Time is running out.
It is. Rapha doing a good job. He has taken the heavy, was able to get the Mega as well. Heavy's going to be up again. Rocket jump to safety here for ZenAku.
I mean, worth it.
Totally worth it. Very, very low. Has to be careful, but managed to get away. What he does next is going to be huge. And there we see the machine gun damage coming out and the rail. Both players incredibly low. It's not necessarily a risk you could take now. Got to play this one smart.
Was not expecting Rapha to take that much damage. I don't think any of us were. ZenAku. There we go. The vision begins. And that information is going to be paramount now. 4 minutes on the clock. ZenAku has been at death's door for a fair old while, but he just keeps on trucking. Keeps on bringing himself back up to a regular stack as this now heavy next objective. But who's in a better position? Surely it's got to be ZenAku, who beats him to the punch, and the duel up close begins.
Like a little bit of rocket damage comes out there by Rapha. 6 minutes, 30 seconds on the clock. Rapha kind of sitting good with those timings. There's a good steal of the heavy. There's a rail coming out by ZenAku. This is just such an intense back and forth.
I'm really struggling to watch this in the best possible way, I will admit. This is a clencher. I mean, there's so much on the line. We're about to hit the 3-minute point, and remember, folks, last match of the day. This is the final elimination match that we've had on today's broadcast. And this is to get into tomorrow's championship finals. With there being one frag in it currently, God, I don't even want to know how they're feeling. I wish we had a heart rate monitor for crying out loud.
It is absolutely intensity. I can just feel it in this room, Ketchup. It is
I mean, you can cut it with a knife.
You absolutely can. ZenAku with the rail, answered back by Rapha. What's Rapha's next move here? The time's ticking away, 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Piercing sights down. Ghost walks up. Mega's picked up by ZenAku. Another cycle begins.
Rapha knows that although just over 2 minutes isn't a long time, it's enough to still play for the items when you have them. Because that stack is going to be insurmountable to one of your, well, the comeback of comebacks at this point. You need that frag, but with the extra information that ZenAku's going to have access to thanks to Piercing Sight, this is going to be a hard chase to make.
Yeah, it really is. 2 minutes now. There's the Piercing Sight. Missed that rail. Oh, big rocket, but answered back on the LG. Rapha still low. ZenAku sitting on a decent stack. No! Drive-by rocket.
I think we can see there too after the damage. ZenAku wasn't even remotely interested in going in. We're seeing a clear direction. Don't risk it under any circumstances. This could be the most important minute and a half of ZenAku's entire Quake career, and Shaw deep down knows it.
Wow, another great rail, even as a rocket comes barreling towards you, and suddenly ZenAku is going to be the hunted here. Despite the fact down by one, Rapha knows that he's got to bring this one back. Another combo coming out there by ZenAku. There's the 1 minute warning. Only guaranteed to increase that heart rate even more.
I can't watch Wheat. This is too much. 50 seconds down. Or to go, I guess I should say. That's the armor. The next objective, the opening rocket. The rocket from Rapha was fantastic, though. Caught jumping, and there's the LG. And oh my lord, equalizes!
Oh my god! This is huge going into the final 30 seconds of this game. It's tied back up 1-1. Also, Rapha picking up that heavy. And taking a little bit of damage. There's the Ghost Walk is coming out. He's going to go in on it. He's got to be very, very careful. Both players super low.
But ZenAku having the Piercing Sight that he saved for the Ghost Walk and had complete vision on where Rapha was going to go. This is so close. Too close to call. Rails, 2 back-to-back. ZenAku not going to peak. Needs to get some stack back. Would have been out of this world to peak that. And we are entering a sudden death. Possibly the most pivotal sudden death we've had all week.
It's absolutely unreal here. We've got Flea next to us who's literally just hands on head, can't even believe it, mouth agape. This is what a wild way to end this day 2. There's the rail, first one coming out from Rapha. Piercing Sight is going to be hit. And now Rapha coming around the side. Oh my god! Oh my god! The LG absolutely starting to melt Rapha, and Rapha with the shotgun blast that was just so perfectly put as he flies across the side. You have to give so much respect for both players and how that game was played. 1-2. Unreal.
That was possibly the best way you could end a stream like today. The final qualifier that we had, nail biter.
I was looking at my heart rate.
Very
not the time. I was
watch.
looking at my own heart rate. It was just sitting about 108 right now.
No, you could cut that tension with a knife, especially in those closing couple of minutes. The last minute equalization there from Rapha, and then finally that explosive little jump on.
I was watching the final moments through ZenAku's, and I really wanted see it from the Rapha perspective there. That was absolutely just unreal. I thought once that LG came out, oh my, okay, wow. Yeah, I mean, all I could see is that LG attached to Rapha at that point, but like what a great scan and shot right there by Rapha. Oh my goodness.
I feel like we absolutely have to and should give the highest amount of props to ZenAku for getting this far.
Absolutely. ZenAku has had a tremendous run
One
throughout
frag
this
away.
championship. Yeah,
One frag away.
I mean, and you know, for all we know, Rapha could have very easily missed that final shot, and then the LG would have cratered him down into the floor and would have gotten ZenAku the ultimate win. So really, really close. An exceptional performance by the Maestro man. I mean, just think of how much he's grown as a player. I was talking about it earlier. 7 series against Rapha, has won just 1 map. And again, today, he came so close to taking him out of the tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, look at these scores. 3, 4, 9, 8, 1,
Jeez.
2. And that final game, just the amount of back and forth, the number of times that both players were in serious danger of, losing a frag. And then, gosh, we didn't even go back and talk about the suicide that happened there that ultimately brought it back down to 1-1.
I think the close-range rocket encounters, we kind of see that happen so much where it's either going to be +1 or -1, right?
For sure.
Either it's going to be I take you down and we trade maybe. Like if you're firing a rocket at that close, it's because you kind of just feel it in the heat of the moment that that's the right weapon to use at that time, right? So either I self-frag, and it's going to be no different, the scoreline. It was going to be +1 or -1, or maybe we'll get a trade.
Yeah.
And a trade in that instance can sometimes be the best case scenario. Often the player that initiates it is the one that comes off better because it was kind of like halfway part of the plan. But what that does mean is that Rapha barely is making it through for tomorrow's games. An opportunity to refresh, rest, recover, have some breakfast maybe, and then we're going to jump into the all-important matches tomorrow. But yeah, ZenAku taking Rapha to the limit like that is one of the biggest achievements of this weekend I've seen. When you look at where ZenAku began in the Pro League to now, like it's not even close to the same player.
Let's bring Rapha in and talk to him a little bit about that match, this tournament. Shane, welcome to the desk. I gotta ask, you've been in so many different situations, right? In finals matches, life on the line. Where does that moment rank in the grand scheme of your career?
I mean, hopefully, the career keeps going, so we'll see.
I mean, we all hope that too, yes. But yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. It kept me alive to go in tomorrow. So the only game that mattered isn't, the games that I've played before, championships or whatever, they're done with. That game was what mattered to get into tomorrow. So, I'm just really glad I was able to pull it out. And I think nail on the head with what you guys said of where he's come from when he started and got into the Pro League and how much more consistent he is. It was a really tough series. And I'm glad I clutched that out because I kind of threw on the second map. And, I was able to redeem myself.
I want to pass it to the guys too, but I also want to ask one thing that's been kind of a consistent storyline, even through the regular season, is that it's been pretty obvious that like we're seeing an exponential increase in like the skill that we're seeing at the top level. Do you agree? Like as a player who's kind of dominated a lot in the sense of this game, do you agree that we're seeing kind of a new era where the top is pretty stacked?
Yeah, I think so. You just look at the results from this weekend so far, even from the online stage of this season.
Sure.
There's so many that were really close for 5th, 6th. I mean, like I said in the interview before the tournament, anybody in the top 8 has a chance to win,
right.
I think. Just however they're feeling going into tomorrow, anything's possible.
All right, well, Rapha, congratulations. I just want to pick your brain a little about that last matchup, Visor versus Nyx. Back in the olden days of Quake Champions, at the beginning, in simpler times, it was a very common matchup. But then I feel like there was a bit of an era where that was a rather uncommon pick for both of these players. But now, looking at these champions, at these final 2 days that we've seen so far, this has been one of the most common matchups. We've seen it, 5, 6 times today alone. What's up with that? How come it's seeing such a resurgence?
I think it's because of the way the game feels at the moment. It feels like some of the champions are moving a bit faster, and that means like Nyx and Visor, their mobility really helps, especially in LG fights, machine gun fights. And with how hard people are hitting with rail right now, that's what makes Visor a little bit better sometimes, and why we're seeing, Visor Nyx on Ruins or Visor Nyx on Blood Covenant at the moment. And like, I played the Visor against Noso the match before, and then I had the option to pick this time, and I took Nyx. And I think it just comes down to the draft and your opponent. I think on a couple of the maps, it's a really, really even matchup. There's like annoying situations to deal with both. But it's just, it's kind of just to pick your poison. And I think, like I said, sometimes like certain other champions that are available kind of force your hand. So like I know that he's really good with clutch, so that's why I was like, well, if I pick Visor and he picks clutch, Visor has nothing to like close the gap or use mobility, and then he could pick it. So I picked Nyx, which is a much harder matchup, and was just like, I'll just take the 50-50 match instead of potentially gambling, and and then it's something really difficult.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So I think as we go into tomorrow's games, bit of a generic question, really. I know it gets asked all the time, kind of not even in just Quake, but of all the players that are left in this tournament, we're back on a LAN setting. We haven't had one for quite some time. The level of play is starting to shorten. We are starting to get a lot of players remain on that top level. Who would you like to play against the most tomorrow? From a purely for fun perspective, who do you think is going to give like the best example of rapha versus, other top level player in the finals? Demonstrate Quake champions the way it should be done.
I think it would have been nice to play Wenger in the finals last year. So if we are able to get a chance to play in the finals, I think that would probably be fun. Or Kilson and I haven't played in an actual like final in a long, long time.
Yeah.
So I would probably pick one of those two. But you know how Razy likes to show up on the final day. So we'll see.
Awesome.
And you can't count the other guys out at the moment. They're playing lights out as well.
Well, I mean, from our perspective, watching every game, we said it in day one, probably one of the, our most favorite day ones that we'd seen. Day two lived up to the hype, and I have to imagine that day three is definitely going to carry that torch into the final day. Is there anything you'd like to say to the fans, the folks out there, as we wrap day two and head into the final day?
We just love and appreciate that you guys watch and support us, and I mean, just look at all the games this weekend, the super intense games. This is why people love Quake. And we're in for excuse my French, but shit ton more tomorrow.
Awesome. I completely agree. Rapha, congratulations. You gave us I was going to think about I was going to go to bed, but now I've got a little bit extra adrenaline in my body, so it might take me a little bit longer. But I hope you get some rest, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining us, and good luck.
Thanks, Sweet.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks, guys.
No problem. You can go, because I'm going to wrap up. I don't want you to have to stand there awkwardly or anything like that, like these two guys.
Kind of like me, just all the way in the background. Just
no, thanks again. Thanks
like
again,
that.
Rapha. What an incredible, I mean, give a shout out to ZenAku too. Hit him up on Twitter, show some love. Maestro would have loved to have a triple stack there in the final day. Thank you. Thank you, Catch Up, for holding it down like that. But what a great day. Day one, absolutely phenomenal. The challengers came out. They represented, how much they all deserve to be there today. We definitely saw quite a few folks go home. Got some surprises. Like, if you could just ask for everything in a Quake tournament, I think we've kind of gotten it so far, and it's not even the final day. Gentlemen, your final thoughts before we wrap up. Catch Up?
I'm going to say the same thing I said yesterday. Quake is great, and everyone should play it.
Quake Champions now on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Right? Don't forget to check it out.
Don't forget that.
We're out of early access. Game is free to play, part of Game Pass. Steam, go ahead, jump into the arena. I had a wonderful time casting these days today. I mean, it's been an incredible series from start to finish, and tomorrow we've got a whole lot more in store.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we've got a schedule, what time. Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
We got a schedule.
Production.
12:30. Get ready for it, because we're going to kick things off with Kilson versus Razy, Maxter versus Wenger, and then we get to fill in those matches. It's going to be an unbelievable day tomorrow. Championship Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us here for day two. Shout out to all the players, the production staff here at PGL, Bethesda. It has been an absolute great time. We hope that you've enjoyed it in chat. We hope you enjoyed all the games, and we hope that you will give Quake a shot. Thank you so much for joining us. Want to remind John Hill that he owes me 1 Divine Orb. Thanks so much. It's been a great day. We'll see you tomorrow for the conclusion of the Quake World Champion and Season 3. We're out of here. Peace.